Okay, imagine this, a book with no author, no title, just a manuscript that was secretly passed around for more than 100 years. But this wasn't just any book. This was a book so powerful, it would help light the fuse on a revolution that literally changed the world. Today, we're diving into that very text, a mysterious 14th century work that we now call the German Theology. And to really get why it's so important, we have to start with the man who dragged it out of obscurity. So in 1518, Martin Luther gets his hands on this anonymous text, and it just blows his mind. He was so impressed that he published it himself, giving it one of the most incredible endorsements you can imagine. He said that besides the Bible and St. Augustine, this little book taught him more about pretty much everything than anything else he'd ever read. So that's the big question, right? What on earth was in this book that so completely captivated the mind of the great reformer?
For Luther, this book wasn't just interesting, it was a hidden gem, a secret guide that pointed to a pretty radical way of understanding God. So let's pull back the curtain and see what makes it tick.
So what's the big secret? What are the ideas hiding in these pages that could inspire that kind of devotion and help shape one of the biggest turning points in all of history? Well, to figure that out, we have to start with the book's most basic, fundamental idea. The entire philosophy of this book, and this is really the key, it all rests on one core distinction: the difference between what it calls the perfect and the created. Okay, so let's break this down. On one hand, you have the perfect. Think of it as God, the ultimate source. It's one, it was never created, it's whole and indivisible. And ultimately, its true essence is kind of unknowable to us. Then, on the other hand, you have the created. That's everything else. You, me, the stars, the trees, everything that has sprung from that perfect source. We are many, we are divided into parts, and we are recognizable to our senses. It's the ultimate source versus the stream that flows from it. And the book gives us this really beautiful analogy to help us picture it. It says that we, and everything in the created world, are like a single ray of light from the sun. We aren't the sun itself, right? But we come from the sun, and we literally cannot exist without it. We're a part of the whole, but we're still distinct from the source. Now, this leads to a huge question. I mean, if we all come from this perfect, undivided source, like light from a sun, then what's the problem? Where does all the bad stuff come from? The suffering, the evil, that nagging feeling of being separated from everything? The book's answer is, well, it sounds surprisingly modern. It says the ego is the enemy. The fundamental problem isn't something we do, it's our very sense of I. Now get this, because this is a radical redefinition of sin. According to this text, sin isn't about breaking some rule or doing a bad deed. No, sin is the internal act of saying, I did this, or this is mine, or I am good. It's that moment we take something that's flowing from the perfect source, we stamp it with the label mine, and in that moment we cut ourselves off from where it truly came from. The book uses the story of Adam to really drive this home. It says Adam's real fall wasn't about eating the apple. It says he could have eaten 7 apples and it wouldn't have mattered. The fall happened the second he claimed that action for himself, the second he said, this is for me because I want it. In that single instant, he created an independent I, a self that was separate from God. That was the original sin. So you can see there's a kind of clear anatomy of the fall here. First, we start attributing good things to our own self, my will, my smarts, my goodness. As soon as we do that, we turn our back on the real source, the perfect. And once we're separated, we become just a tiny divided fragment, no longer a part of that big, indivisible whole. All right, so if the book is right, and our very own sense of I is the problem, then what's the solution? How in the world do we reverse this process and get back to the source? The book lays out a very clear path back to oneness, but here's the twist. It's not a journey of doing more or achieving more. It's a journey of surrender. It's really that simple and that unbelievably difficult. The entire spiritual journey, according to this book, is about dismantling the ego. It's about stopping this habit of claiming anything as mine. Not your will, not your intellect, not even your own goodness. The idea is you have to completely empty yourself to be filled by God. And to make this really abstract, internal choice a little more concrete, the book uses this amazing metaphor, the 2 eyes of the soul. The idea is that every one of us has these 2 ways of seeing, and the one we choose to look through determines our entire reality. So you've got the left eye. This eye looks outward, at the world of created things, the world of time and division. It sees a million separate things, all the noise and chaos. But then you have the right eye. This one looks inward, toward eternity, toward the source. It isn't bothered by all the action and noise. It just sees the one, indivisible unity of everything. And the whole goal is to learn how to see with that right eye.
So the ultimate destination on this path is a complete union with the divine. It's about becoming a pure vessel, a clear channel, where your own will just kind of fades away and God's will can work through you. And according to this text, this is the only path to real, lasting peace. It's found not by finding yourself, but by completely losing yourself.
And this brings us right back around to Martin Luther. It all starts to click into place, doesn't it? We can see exactly why this book resonated so deeply with him. I mean, his whole theology was built on this idea of faith over works, the belief that you can't earn your salvation through your own actions. This book gave him a deep, mystical foundation for that very idea. It's not about what you do, it's about surrendering so that God can work through you. And that leaves us with the book's central, timeless challenge. It's a question that has echoed through centuries of philosophy and religion. And honestly, it's just as provocative today as it was back in the 1300s. To truly find ultimate reality, do you first have to be willing to let go of the very thing you call I?